morning. It's always a pleasure to talk about supply chains at Converge. I welcome Prashant to this session. Supply chains are now the strategic drivers of customer engagement and competitive advantage for every company. With the elevated role comes pressure. Demand shocks, supply shocks, and weather events are the new normal. At the same time, technology, compute, AI, data and automation is allowing supply chains to break down silos, creating supply chains that don't just move product, but adapt and become flexible and reroute to ultimately delight the customer. Let's get started. Prashant, whether supply chains are moving containers across the ocean or moving packages to a customer's home, speed has become the new baseline. And as it goes through multiple nodes across the supply chain, what is the automation and how is data being used to achieve this speed, which is the base expectation of customers?
Great. Thanks, Rajiv. So first of all, thanks for inviting me for this discussion. I think it's such a lovely audience we have, and I already met so many good folks who I can get a lot of inputs on how the delivery is good or not great, etc. So yeah, when it comes to efficiency in logistics, one is that you have fundamentals like you have to look at whether you have right sorters, your sorting happens fast, you have the right network, so that all comes at the fundamental level. But on top of that, what we used to generally miss, now the industry is mature, which is the user experience of the person who is working on ground on all of these processes. For example, if somebody is unloading a package and has to be put on at a certain space, now how easily that person is able to do that job. So the user experience on the app that person is using is very important. So user experience was always earlier was like in B2C, consumer experience has to be great, but for the apps that you are using internally, now I have to guide that person, okay, now if you are unloading this package, it has to go to say a Kanpur marked space. Where is that space? So now if either I spend a lot of time training that person or I can build right user experience in my apps where I can guide that person where exactly to put it and what exactly to do and in minimum number of clicks. So, and all of our apps have gone through evolution and it still keeps on going through evolution, but taking the same tenets of user experience that you use in B2C, that you use in our internal apps, we are able to aid to efficiency in our network just by whether be it mid-mile, last mile, whether be it at how do you manifest the packages, how do you load the packages, how do you unload the packages, how you define the cross dock, how you define your network. All that user experience, when it becomes your core central piece of your technology, it automatically adds to your efficiency.
That's fantastic, Prashant.
Yeah.
At Walmart, we do something very similar, right? We look at how do we automate things which basically are very cumbersome and taxing, reduce cognitive load on the operators, right? While it's very easy to write algorithms sitting in a lab, yeah. I think when you go down in the field and actually see the impact they are having on the user, the machine and human interaction, and whether the cognitive load is actually going down or going up is when the rubber hits the road and true efficiencies come out.
Yeah.
It's pretty similar to what our experience has been.
Yeah, I'll give an interesting example as well because a lot of people want to know about AI as well, what you're doing. So we do a lot of trainings around how to handle the package, how not to throw the package when you are unloading, etc. But at the same time, because of deficiency in training or generally human behavior, some events would happen where somebody is mishandling the packages. We started using now video intelligence where we just identify which docks, which areas the mishandling of packages is happening more, and whether those people require more training or more intervention of the supervisor. That is one example where we bring efficiency in our claims and damage process through AI as well.
Fantastic. So we talked about speed and how at every node we deliver experiences to meet that speed. Let's talk about all the volatility that exists in the world today, right? And the way I look at it is, it used to be like a school friend you met at a reunion every 10 years, but now almost feels like somebody in your extended family who comes knocking unannounced, and you still need to deliver NPS, right? So when you're thinking about network design, when you're thinking about flexibility, how are you thinking about the ability to deal with real world volatility, supply shocks, demand variations, and still ensure that you meet your service levels without too much of strain on your systems?
Yeah, that I'm operating in India, which has different kind of geographies. That is like a continuous process for us, where we have to deal with some event happening in some part of our country. So I think there are two parts of it. One is your fundamental network design, how you design your network. That defines a lot in how you are going to deal with some of the anomalies, some of the events, some of the disruptions that happens in the network. So we as a company, when we started, one of the fundamental things that the company did is that we designed a mesh network for our network, which at that point in time was not being done by almost anybody. So we were the first company probably in India who designed a mesh network rather than a hub and spoke model, which everybody else used to follow. And that mesh network enabled us to have a more stable network. Now you have thousands of nodes, and you can route through any node you want. So that at fundamental level becomes our strength, where I can now deal with any kind of anomaly by routing through anything, rather than in hub and spoke, where I have to clearly route through only one hub. So by designing that, now on top of that, if you are designing a network like that, you have to have a decent amount of technology in place. Hub and spoke is easier to manage, even with minimal technology, but in a mesh network, now I have to have a algorithm that defines where one package goes from, say, Delhi to Bangalore. Right now, for us, that one package can go through either Delhi to Bangalore directly, or it can go through Delhi to Mumbai to Bangalore. It can come from Delhi to Hyderabad to Bangalore, and that happens just in time for us. So you have to have the technology in place where you are at real time, based on the number of connections you have from one node to another. You are, and also based on the volume that you have for that package, you are at just in time evaluating what path that package is going to do. And that happens like for each and every package, each and every time it is scanned inbound for a center. And that provides us resilience in the sense that now if there is a disruption happens, that information automatically is part of my path evaluation algorithm. So I, at fundamental network level, doesn't have to worry about that, although I have to worry about, now I need more connections on certain node, which is a second order problem, but at first order, I can pretty much route everything from everywhere. So that is one. Two is now how to predict these anomalies that are going to happen. How do I figure out where what is going to happen? And that is still a slightly hard part, which now with the advent of AI, some of the things are becoming simpler. Earlier we used to have people on ground report to us, okay, now some political leader is going to be here in this city on, say, 10th of September. So before 1 day and after 2 days, there is going to be blockages, etc. Last year, in fact, around the last election, we started now consuming the news, and not the national news, but the local news from everywhere, and started figuring out where the political rallies are going to happen. What if there is a highway accident that blocks a highway, if there is a major highway damage that has happened, all those events now flags directly to our control tower team. So those disruptions are now built into our network team as well. So the way network design connections, so those networks are also kind of reviewed every day based on where we have what amount of load. So now all those anomalies also surfaces up that helps us making the network more resilient. Third is the weather events that is now pretty structured in terms of the kind of data that you start getting. While at some places where you don't get a lot of structured weather data, we have people on ground who can provide that input through our apps. So we detect all those events to make our network more predictable, I would say.
Yeah, so I think what I heard is a very customer-centric view in terms of how you're designing your network and taking in feeds. You're doing all of that to make it a delight for your customers. At Walmart, again, something very similar, right? When we just ran stores, what you called as the hub and spoke model really worked well for us because catchments of stores were very well defined.
Yeah.
But as we became very e-commerce, and then we used our stores to do e-commerce deliveries, and also had our FCs do e-commerce deliveries, we had to design something very similar, which was, we call it a flexible network, where we take real-time decisions on where to source from and how do you route things. Do you route it directly through a national carrier, or you route it to your stores and from there use our own last mile network to send the package to the customer's home? We take these decisions in real time based on the best outcome for the customer on how we see data at that point of time.
Nice.
So we talked about speed, we talked about volatility, how do we design systems for that. Let's talk a little bit about people, right? Even the most advanced systems rely on people to make the right calls at the right moments. Especially in the network that you use, you have a very large number of field executives who are doing that whole moment of truth, the last mile delivery, the interaction with the customer. Similarly, you have a lot of interactions across your network with multiple operators. So how are you empowering the teams on the ground with the right tools and technology to turn innovation into real world performance?
Yeah, that's, I think that would be my favorite topic because we do a lot to provide more intelligence to our large team where we are delivering across the width and length of the country where some kind of events keep on happening. There are customers who behave in a certain way. There are localities that are slightly different than the other localities. And there are events that keep on happening with those people. So I'll take some interesting examples that we did recently, things that help our field executives. Field executives are last mile delivery executives who deliver package ultimately to consignee. So what used to happen is sometimes the customer says, I don't want the package. And the delivery executive says the customer doesn't want the package, but my client says, no, you have to try every package 2 times. So again, the next day the field executive will go and then get the same input and then the package would be returned. Now this puts load on the network, this puts that lowers our efficiency of our network and our operations. At the same time, makes us basically less profitable for that center. So what we started doing now is that we started sampling some of the calls that goes from field executive to our consignees. And if consignee themselves are saying they don't want the package, and now we have started transcribing it, figuring out what the intent of the consignee was, and what exactly should be the action on the network or on the package because of that conversation that happens between them. So in this example, if the consignee says they don't want the package, we now have figured out they don't want the package, I don't want to put another attempt of that package, so I'll just return that package from the system. So there is one example where it has helped the operations. Another example is that in the same field executive app we have that our executives use to deliver the package. Now we have started delivering their audio feedback. Sometimes while they are on the go, just clicking on multiple inputs, okay, what exactly happened now, I'm providing 10 options, okay, whether the person was not available, did not pick the call, the locality was not reachable, or you met some accident, and all those options if I give on the app, it becomes really very cumbersome for the delivery executive. So we now start providing on those inputs that you can put free form audio feedback about a certain locality, about an address, consignee, whatever you want. And very interestingly, we started getting some interesting inputs that we did not even have the option for in our radio buttons and in the drop downs. Like sometimes they say, my bike got punctured, so I could not deliver. Sometimes they say although there was no flood in the area, but the road was blocked because of some local flooding kind of situation, or the address is on the other side of the road where they have to go and take a 1 kilometer U-turn. All those inputs now we start getting through that feedback, and from that now next time when some other field executive is going to deliver the package to the same locality, we started surfacing it up for the other ones, so it starts helping everybody else. So these are couple of examples of the tools that we use to help our executives deliver faster, better, and providing them better experience. But overall theme remains around the user experience of my people.
So this is very exciting, right? Empowered people, especially people who interact with the customers, empowering them and ensuring that their cognitive load is low, results in amazing customer experience for your end customer. Everything that you're doing either through your app or through advanced technology in terms of understanding images, data feeds, is just allowing your field executives to do their job better. So in what we heard today and what's very exciting is that the ability for technology to define experiences for supply chain operators, for the ability for technology to automate use of robotics, etc., is ensuring that supply chains are no longer a cost center, but are turning out to be competitive advantages for companies who use them right. Customer experience is, if customer experience is demand and technology is the supply which is meeting this demand, then resilience is the balance point, right? With volatility, we need to kind of ensure that supply chains are resilient. And the best of technology essentially means nothing unless it is driving true customer delight by keeping your supply chain operators efficient and excited. We are not just building supply chains for cost anymore, but we are building them for speed, resilience, and delight. Prashant, it was a pleasure talking to you, understanding real-world examples on how technology and your team is driving a huge difference to the supply chain networks in India. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you so much.